introducing yourselves, and that's awesome, and it's great that you all have done that. Seems like somebody's trying to call me on my line. I'm gonna let that go to voicemail. But thank you all. But this is actually the fourth session in actually John Maxwell leading through crisis. And so, I'll send you all the links for the prior sessions that we had for the mastermind. And so, as I said before, the goal is to actually add value to people. John C. Maxwell, I don't know if everybody knows that much about him, but he has written over 100 plus leadership and personal development books. He's in the top 50 in speaking for motivational speakers. And so he developed this content from actually a place that he was supposed to have an in-person training with us for the John Maxwell team, but he actually decided to share this content with us so we could share it with people for free, so they could jump in and get some help here. And so this is kind of like the fourth session, which talks about real leadership in crisis. And the goal is to really try to help people where they are. And so I start out by sharing that I went through a crisis before the COVID-19 crisis. So when the COVID-19 crisis came, I was kind of a little bit prepared, to kind of deal with where we are. And so there's people that are in tough predicaments, right? There's some people that are not receiving income based on their job, their business, or where they were. People's are actually working now, and they face issue of they're working, too much in tough situations, and they don't know what to do. And then there's people that are frozen. And so I talk about being frozen, that people don't know what to do. And so people are looking for answers. People are looking for help. Thank you all for putting your contact information together and sharing with that in the chat. And so talking about crisis, John shares and defines crisis as an intense time of difficulty requiring a decision that will be a turning point. And so you can have a leadership position by title or just by what you do, or it could be just by happenstance of what is going on. And so one of the things I love to do for people is to share and add value to them. And nowadays, my tagline is that I call myself the encourager. And so nowadays people are reaching out to me even more to say, listen, I need some encouragement, man. I don't know what to do. I don't know where I'm at, and so, one of the things I love this content that John has put together, because during a crisis, people need to be able to make some sound decisions, even though it might not be the right decision. And so people are saying, what? That doesn't make any sense. Sometimes people in a crisis don't make any decisions, and that could be worse than making a decision. All right. Not making a decision. So, I share that with you all very quickly. And so it seems like you all are still able to, still able to, bring in income and work remotely, since, you're in finance, Obed and Veronica. You're in social worker, working from home, but also doing real estate, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But I know real estate has been a little bit challenging because you can't be as close to people and do many showings.
Yeah, but we still find ways to work it.
Okay.
We are considered essential workers, to my surprise, but
okay.
It's a positive surprise. So as long as we take the necessary precaution, and as long as sellers or buyers are willing to go along, we can still go out, but we must adhere to the requirements put in place by the CDC and put in place by, our local offices as well.
All right, cool.
People, it's whenever things like these happen, people tend to withdraw a little bit. People tend to want to be more cautious. So I get that. I understand that. And then you have the risk takers, those who know that in every crisis there is also an opportunity. So it just depends on who you connect with and and who's willing to take the plunge. But it's been interesting navigating. So the ones who are willing, still working with them. The ones who have withdrawn a little bit, giving them time and giving all of us time for
Yes.
this to pass through, and then see how we can renew those the different tasks that we were beginning to take.
That's right. Awesome. And then Obey, you're doing a lot of stuff remotely now also with
Yeah,
clients.
well, that's the environment that we're in at this point.
Yeah.
It's great to be able to really just, it's not the same as giving somebody a handshake or sitting down and having a cup of coffee with somebody. But you could do that, I'll have my water, and I'll have my coffee, and we'll sit and we'll look at each other. But
That's
a
right.
lot of things we could do really just electronically. I could review and create portfolios or plug somebody in, and we could have just these meetings really face to face, just not next to each other physically.
That's
and
right.
everything that I'll do, I'll be able to send out and sign things digitally and whatnot. Yeah, so it's really it's been a pretty simple transition, even though it's not as comfortable necessarily as it would or it is normally. So
That's
a
right.
new normal is what they're calling it now, So
Yeah, and that's a good jumping off point to talk about. In this first paragraph, it says, John talks about, leading a real crisis is that leaders need to connect when things are uncertain. And so he talks about how to we show up early, show up with clarity, and show up with hope. And so during this time, people are looking for connection. So I give you a scenario that, I've been doing some facilitation on a once a month basis with a group of a nonprofit. And so I knew that things were going to be closed down, when they closed down everything for a week, and I knew that it was going to happen. So I reached out to the person. I said, listen, I know that we're not going to do the training, right? I know that we're not going to facilitate. I just want to check in and see how you're doing. This person said, Kareem, you were the first person out of my team and my board of directors to reach out to me and see how I was doing. And she said, because of that, I want you to still help me get through this process. So I share that with you because there's people that you probably, probably think, well, maybe I shouldn't reach out to them. Maybe, they're a client, or maybe they might be a potential client, or maybe they're just somebody that you might like, oh, I don't know if I should reach out to them. And so you never know. People are looking for someone to reach out to them because so many people are being closed in, and showing up, showing early, and showing hope sometimes will help people get through what they're getting through, but also be an opportunity for you. So I share that with you all, as John shares it here also, because there's people that need some connection, like you were saying. So we can't have the face-to-face connection with people, but we could do, a meeting, or we could reach out to them, by other forms of communication,
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's and that's one of the things where the clarity, the hope, showing up early. Really, people I find out nowadays are in need of some clarity. They're in need of some hope, because every time you turn on TV, when you open up the paper, you go online, there's a lot of doom and gloom that's out there, and it's hard, and people are stressed. But if you could be that that sunshine, or that positive perspective, because perspective is huge. It really is. You really can add value to somebody's life, to somebody's situation, when you have just a clear and hopeful outlook on things. But putting all the data together as well, but just looking at it from a different angle. So.
That's right. And preparing for that. So, kind of like right now, I do a lot of business consulting with business owners and a lot of training with business owners. So the number one thing people are saying, right now, I don't have access to the funding that I apply for through the Small Business Administration. And so when I try to tell them, I say, yes, you should apply for everything that you get your hands on.
Yeah.
But how about develop a plan that the money's not going to happen, not going to even come? Because right now, for a lot of people, they haven't received that cash flow. So I said, yes, it's great if you get it, but what if it doesn't come? What if something happened? Right now, a lot of people are facing that. I applied for this, I put in for this, I put in for that, but I didn't receive the cash flow. And I said, well, that's why you have an ABC plan, right? A, everything works out, you get the money. B, you get a little bit of it. And C, you don't. So you still have a plan. You got to make a decision, because during crisis, you still have to make a decision no matter what happens.
Yep.
But if you have a couple plans that you could kind of work on, and maybe somebody else can help you, that will work it out a little bit better. So I share that with you all. Veronica, any interesting things you're doing with clients now? People that's looking to list?
I'm learning, first of all, to use the technology. So Zoom and it's Zoom and Google Hangout or Google Meet, one of them.
Yep.
So I'm learning how to do that. And I'm setting up like one-on-one appointment with folks so that I can provide the information that is needed, as if to say we were to meet face-to-face.
Okay.
And I'm actually, how do I say? I'm actually translating that into a document. So I'm literally writing or typing out a document that I can share with folks, just as you're doing here. Send us the PDF or something that we can go through as we're meeting. So finding creative ways to do that, which will help me down the road. Be able to have that as, something I can share with anybody down the street or wherever, so they can have the necessary information, from A to Z, or the steps, because sometimes those are confusing. How do you walk through the different steps once you've decided you want to buy, the different steps, just so some people have something in their hand.
Yes.
I feel like listing sellers are a little bit more withdrawn, right? I mean, it's a little bit more reluctant right now for different reasons, not because they don't want to sell, but they really want to protect their families. That's the first and foremost thought on their minds. And as you know, if you're bringing in people in the home to show the home, it's just a higher risk of exposure. So even though you're taking various measures to make sure that nobody gets the virus, it's still kind of an alarming thought that somebody coming in my home and that I may be exposing myself and my children, my wife, more than I would like. So it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky. But the folks that are really decided on it, we're trying to make it work.
Yes.
And then for builders, it's a little bit it's easier with vacant homes and
That's
with
right.
new. It's a lot more easier with those. On the buyer side, it's a lot easier. It's easier than on the seller side, because you're only taking in 1 or 2 buyers at the time. At least you can provide the gloves, you can provide the mask, or ask them to put a bandana or something over their, cover their mouths and wear a glove. And as long as, maybe you're leading the way, you're opening doors, you're opening cabinets, you're not letting them touch those things, and maybe have a Lysol or something that you're going over with every time you open a door, or every time you open a cabinet, that works. But it's for homes that are occupied, it's tricky, especially those who have families.
That's right.
They're just not. And who can blame them? I mean, I would be in the same position. If you can hold off on selling your house for the next 3 to 6 months at the risk of exposing your family, most people are choosing to hold off.
Yeah. I bet you those virtual pictures and videos are probably like going gangbusters nowadays.
So the joke is that I think Zoom in the first days crashed, right? Zoom in the first day crashed. So yeah, but we're all getting to learn and getting to adopt. Obviously, things will not go back to 100% as they were before. More and more now, those who are reluctant to using technology would feel more comfortable using it now, having been
Yeah.
forced to do this process. And this is a good way of hosting, a large group of people.
That's right. That's right. And you have to be, this is the time to be like creative, right? So there's people that are gonna be open to the new technology, be open to the new change. And there's some people that's not gonna be open, so, as people to be leaders, I think all of us want to be leaders in kind of like our craft and our industry. And so that means that during challenges time, how do we be more creative? How do we be more, people like I've been doing, online stuff for a while now. And I'm like, hey, right now, a lot of people are still not embracing it. This is before, but now everybody's embracing it. And so I kind of love it. So when I told people before, we don't have to drive and meet with each other. How about, let's get up on a computer. People are like, oh man, I don't want to do that. Now they're being forced to. And so I would say, bring people through a process. And, maybe this is an opportunity to even help them through that process, right? So it might be, all right, I know some people don't like Zoom or GoToMeeting, but this is how you do it, right? And here's the 3 steps. I'm going to walk you through it so I could make sure I connect with you,
Yeah, definitely learning to do things. I never thought I would actually write up a document. And it's not a research document. It's just the steps. When I'm taking you through the home buying process, I just sat down and thought about, okay, what do I do first? What do I do next with you? And so, because now that we cannot connect physically, you have to have something tangible as well to reflect back on or to look on. And I was thinking it would probably be useful, not just for now, but even later on, it will continue to be useful. So never thought I would write up a document. Now I'm writing up a document that's going to be, turn into a PDF.
It's a good one, and looking at it, it almost like points to that question number 3 here. Talk about, what do you think it means for a leader to show up early in times of crisis? Like, you developing a document means that you're trying to, front load problems that people have, and versus, you keep on answering the same question, so that's kind of good, kind of cool also. So, man, what in the financial industry, I know you probably getting tons of questions nowadays.
All the time. But it really, crisis is also to an extent a level of opportunity, because it allows you to realize where your loopholes are, where your gaps are, where they say that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, right? And so it's
That's
like,
right.
where are the weak links? Where are your gaps? Where are your opportunities for growth? And so a lot of our clients really, they're where we look at things not necessarily short term, but we look oftentimes more long term planning. It's where are you in your life cycle? Where are you in your retirement cycle? Are you pre-retirement? Are you about to retire? Have you already retired? Where are you financially? And then how do we appropriately kind of allocate for your portfolio? We don't want to have just everything in one stock. Like, hey, Zoom would have been great to buy, because at the end of last year was selling for like 5 cents, and now it's for like $12 and stuff, man. You would have made like a whole bunch of money if you would have bought Zoom, but it was one of those things that nobody saw this coming. And so, like, you have to think about, hey, we're not going to look for like try to time it. We're not going to try to like ride these peaks and valleys, but we're going to look at the long term. Up and to the right is normally what it does, with some dips in there. Yeah, we have some dips. But it's okay. We're going to ride this out, because we're not thinking about, hey, can I have food on my table tomorrow? We're not thinking about that. If that's the conversation, then we need to have more of like a budgeting conversation, and it's a very different conversation if people are worrying about like, how do I eat? But if you're thinking about where you're how you're allocating your assets and what your position is in the market, it's a little bit more of a strategic conversation. And then you look at these times, like, everything's on sale. It's like it's like kind of going to BJ's or Costco or something like that, where you're able to get things that were normally, let's say, $80, maybe for $75 or $60. And so it's like, hey man, you're getting this thing on sale. This is a great opportunity. You have your and so there are a lot of different things, and that's kind of on the finance side. And so I always kind of wear two hats with everything, because again, like I'm pretty passionate about my involvement in my nonprofits as well. And so on that side, I'm pretty well connected to, again, like my church. And so I'm like, hey, like what is our interaction like? What is our social media presence like? And how do we like utilize this to learn so that we could connect to more people? I was reading an article this morning, and I think it was President Trump that sent maybe like last Sunday, and the church that he tweeted about had, I think it went from maybe like 20,000 people to like 1.2 million or something like that. People that turned into to watch the service online. I'm like, man, that's incredible. It's like you can't plan for that, but you have to kind of be able to respond to something like that. And it's an opportunity really to serve more people. And so you do, and whether it's on the and even for Veronica here too, like it's you're creating a repeatable process, and so like what type of processes are we putting in place?
Yeah.
So that's I'm looking at that on my end. It's like, okay, what is my follow-up process for like my prospects? I had a great meeting. And so it's like, okay, what's my follow-up process? Because I'm not going to necessarily like, hey, let me pick up these documents from you, but we're going to say, hey, how about you upload these documents to the secure site? I'm going to send you a secure email with the follow-up notes, because I'm not going to sit down with you, and so like, let's make sure we have everything in place so that you could still really just like best position yourself, and plan for your future. So
that's right. And what you brought up interesting is that the church and what are they doing now? And so as a person that goes to church myself, I remember years ago helping my former church get themselves online to be able to stream. And some people's like, oh man, what are you doing now? That's the way that you're reaching people. Because you can't go into a building and congregate. And so, some people that refused it because they didn't want to do it and they thought it was kind of like fluky and everybody else is on there, or they just struggle with it. Now they have to do it. And so, so it has brought, where we are to a whole nother different perspective of what we have to do and what people have to do. And there's some businesses that they didn't have a choice to shut down. The government said, because you're a gathering place, because you're event space, and it's a lot of people, you have to shut down. So for those people, they're trying to pivot and reimagine what their business is going to be now and then after, so for everybody is almost thinking, all right, so what do I have to do now? Because it's going to change. It's not like one day, next week they're going to say, everything is back open, go back to the way it used to be. It's not going to happen, because people are going to choose not to even do certain things in big gatherings, just because. So now it's talking about, how do you reinvent yourself? How do you, in a crisis, but also how do you make those decisions, to make better choices for yourself, but also for other people, and experience what they're doing,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at the end of the day, we're all three of us here. We're in service. We want to be able to serve people, and so it's how do you find the people that need your services? How do you provide your services to them? And then how do you make sure continually that it's like a pleasant experience that could be repeated, and that people could maybe even recommend other people to your services, so it's a process, And so like those are the questions really that at the end of the day we have to look at, and as individuals, as leaders, we have to also do our best to position ourselves and answer. And shoot, the Nikes of the world and the Nikes of the world are all doing the same thing.
That's right.
Level.
So it's so true, and kind of like, looking at some of these things like number 8, how does it benefit a leader to keep thinking and decisions aligns with values? And we're talking about that, people's values, right? And how do you stay true to them? And I like here that usually after every section it has like an application, so you all could do this, on your own, writing down, what are some values that you have posting them somewhere or putting them in your phone somewhere. And then during time of crisis, you could kind of stay true to your values, whatever that is. And so it's very, very interesting. So anything else you all want to bring up during this time, or questions of me about this topic or any other topic?
Leading through crisis.
Or it could be another question that's not related to this, right? Like one of the things I've done for a couple other people, and I know I sent this to you, Veronica, before, like the DISC personality profile. Some people ask me, what's the next step? If I'm a leader, how do I deal with crisis? Can I understand my personality style? So I've done that for people. The report does cost some money, but really it's truly like adding value to people, so then they can add value to others. So like, for instance, give an example. So kind of like with that same executive director, right? So helping her through a crisis of what she should do with her staff, who she should lay off, what should she do with her cash flow, is giving her some feedback and making her comfortable. So then she could go back to her team and say, listen, these are the things I'm thinking about. What do you all think? Here's some options. Who would like to go on unemployment? Who would like to get a reduce in pay? These are the values of the organization, but there's some hard decisions I need to make, and how can we all be involved with the process, versus someone just walks in or calls everybody and says, listen, this is what I'm doing, I really don't care what you have to say. So it's a different communication style if you involve people in a process versus not involving them in a process.
Yeah.
It's the same thing working with clients, right?
I question that too.
Sure.
And so where's there's an interesting balance between having people being involved in that, and if those people are maybe nervous or like shaky or unsure, versus like coming out and making just like, hey, this is what we're gonna do, let's do it. And this is a little bit of the why behind why we're going to do it. Like, I feel like there's a little bit of a tension between like both of those trains of thought. How do you maybe advise, or how much of it is like, I don't want you to be flaky and wishy-washy, and nor do I want to be a dictator, so like,
that's right.
What's that
balance, right?
Yeah.
And it could be depending on like where you are. So let's say, for instance, I'm in a restaurant industry, right? I know I still could do takeout, but I'm not going to make enough money to pay all my bills on my employees for takeout. So the decision I probably have to make is that I need to lay everybody off, right? So that decision is kind of clear and cut. Listen, there's no way we're going to make enough money. And what I've seen some people do, business owners, I had one business owner, he put a PowerPoint together and he still could make money, right, running his operation, but they will have to go like less pay, right? And then so he gave people a choice. Well, would you like to still work, reduce your pay, and then I could pay you later? Or would you just like to stop working, get unemployment, and help us out so we could continue with the business, and when we get money, I'll hire you back? And so where there's an opportunity where you could get people's buy-in, I think it will help. So like, for instance, there's people that always said, I wish I could start my own business, right? Or I wish I could stay at home and take care of my family.
Yep.
And maybe those people, by getting them involved with the process and saying, well, now I'm going to collect unemployment now because now I'm going to have the time to do it. Versus, right, you just telling them, listen, you know what, this is what's going to happen. You have no choice. Then their motivation is not there, but you could motivate them with a choice that you want them to make and you want to make, and kind of help them out with that process, So I think it's the way it's communicated. I think it's the scenario that you've been given. Like, certain places they have no options, right? They had no savings in the bank as a business, and they have no money to put into the business right now to pay for people and keep them employed. So they had to make a decision to shut down. But then there's other scenarios where people still have some cash flow and things are working out, and they could get people involved in that process. and say, listen, how can we work together to make it work for everybody?
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like I work with a nonprofit now doing training. The person that oversees my contract was furloughed because of the home situation, and I'm like, what are you talking about? You can't work from home, right? So I'm like, you need to push back on that, because you can work remotely on the stuff that you're doing now. So for a week she was out of work, and then they brought her back because she was essential to the process, and they went back. She probably had a conversation with them and said, listen, I can still work from home and still work on this project. So they brought her back because she was essential, but at first they already made the decision for her.
Wow.
Versus inviting her to the process. So hopefully what I told her, she gave them some feedback and they listened to her, maybe, but I'll check in with her about that also. And the same thing working with real estate clients. I'm thinking about everybody's now. All right, I don't want to list my house. What's going to happen to me if I lose my job? Blah, 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 blah. I might not want to buy a house. What if I lose my job? But if you ask the people, invite them into the conversation and say, listen, let's run some scenarios here. Let's really go through this process together, and then we kind of make a better decision. So yeah, that was a good question. Any other questions that people might have, or things you might want to share?
I think for me, this is challenging me in ways that perhaps I didn't want to. I knew at some point I would have to sit down and kind of draft a document, but I guess somehow I had it in my mind, and if I met with people one-on-one, it was no big deal. I wasn't pressured to, and now this is really forcing me to, because even when I run ads, well, not really the catch, but what incentive am I giving to people, right? If I invite you to my virtual class, or if you sign up for my virtual class, what am I going to give you? What do you leave with? And so that has really pushed me. And it actually came from a conversation that I had with someone I was conversating with around designing my Facebook ad and really having a difficulty choosing what the action call should be, because I don't necessarily want to send people to the website. I'm not selling a product. It's not like I'm selling shoes or a bag or the product. So going to the website, it's not really beneficial. What I really want is for people to sign up for a session with me.
Okay.
But my site is such that it's the standard Wicca site. They're not letting you do any kind of modification whatsoever. Literally, I give me access to the back end, and they're like, nope, can't do it. So I'm having to go through a third party site, which is calendly.com.
Yeah, Calendly.
I like it. But so now, the trick is, okay, if I send people there, then I guess, it's kind of like disjointed. So I was really having a struggle, and she was like, okay, even if you send people to the site, or even if they go to your appointment, what are they leaving with?
Yep.
What do you mean? She was like, well, even if they sign up and it's free and you give them that, that training, what are they going to remember you by? What are they leaving with? That you have to create something, for them. You have to give people something. People have to feel like they are leaving with something. So everything that I had in my mind that I will still go through with the person, just like you did here, Kareem, I had to literally write it out. Yeah. So that's maybe one of the good things that has come out of this. It's forced me to do this.
Yeah. And then the thing about it, I think I told you before, just starting is the most important part of it.
Yep.
Right. And so what happens is that even like for me, when I was thinking about doing stuff, more online or more videos, my friend was like, listen, just be authentic. Who cares if it's not edited? If you don't start it, you're never going to finish it. So I would say start where you are. If everything's not crisp, looking nice on the website or Calendly, so what? As long as you started something and you have something for people, it's not gonna be perfect, you know. And just like, for instance, I have a website, but mostly people don't go to my website. They usually interact with me on Facebook, you know, or by email.
Okay.
You know, so I know I need my website there, so when they search, they could find me. But most of the interactions on different mediums.
Okay. So I guess that brings me to, I would like to maybe hear from you guys what I can do to better promote myself. So I'm doing two different things. I am doing a mailer, which is going to start on the 1st.
Okay.
Going into homes, and it's really targeted renters with a certain income, certain age group, which is my target population. So it's really, really targeted. And I worked with Pack, and they were really keen on narrowing down the way I wanted it. So on the print ad side, that's cool, that's set. The messages there, the going to the Calendly, my appointment, you know, booking site is there. I had a QR code on there so that people can just scan it. You know, nowadays our phones are everything to us, so you can just scan it, get whatever, put in your information, and book an appointment with me. I've been having struggles setting up a social media campaign, or really, I've been having struggle on how to really advertise on Facebook and Instagram. And that's because if I do it the way I'm doing it with the print ad, meaning going after clients or people who would like to purchase at this time, Facebook is seeing it as me, how do you say that, as me soliciting business. And so it's not allowing me for certain businesses like real estate, I think financing and something else, is not allowing me to market target. And I don't want to, you know, do a generalized ad. So if you have any ideas on how I can work this, if you know anybody who has been successful at running Facebook ads for real estate, I would really be interested in hearing from you, and also maybe connecting with whoever that is.
Well, question, the mailer that you're doing, is it to a company that finds the leads?
It's not leads, so this is going to
just houses, just renters.
Are you familiar with Valpak?
Yep.
The blue envelope. Yeah. So instead of the blue envelope, they're doing a postcard for me, the 4x6 postcard. Yeah. I figured you can slide it in their bag, you know, put it somewhere on the desk and maybe come back to it. And so we're going to do it in a way where it's going to 1,000 homes at 1,000 renters at a time within a certain, it's very targeted to income limit, age limit.
Okay, so they doing a demographic. And then the other question that I have for you is is it done already?
The ad itself?
The ad, yeah.
Yeah, it's done.
All right, because I would say usually I deal with somebody that does a lot of good marketing, and what he does when he does mailers or anything out for people to contact, he usually sets up a different email that he could track the ads and a different phone number. Right. So
I think that was my mistake. They did propose that.
Okay.
At the time, I did not have a secondary number, and I was concerned that if let's say if you drop the postcard, I don't know, on your bedside or wherever, and 3 months from now you pick it up and I'm no longer running the ad with their number, called me, I would still like you to get to me. So
so you should get a Google phone number. Yeah, Google Voice number. Yeah. Even though the next time,
different Google numbers to a phone. I have
Yeah,
one.
yeah, you should be able to do that. Yep, you should be
Yeah.
able to do that. So the next time you run an ad, and then the other thing I would say, Facebook, yes, is where a lot of people live. Yeah, if it might not let you target people demographically, I would go and be involved like I do. I go and be involved with communities. So I'm in the business communities that I want to target, right? And
Okay.
so I'm not doing ads in that. I'm not doing paid ads in that community, but I'm interacting with people.
You're
Right.
exactly.
So say for instance, it's the Raleigh mothers that work from home community, right? I go join a community, and then maybe I don't start posting stuff on my own, but maybe I start interacting with people. Somebody says, "Oh, we're having a knitting night," and I'd be like, "I like it." I put in the comment section, "Oh, that's so awesome that you're having a knitting night." Just so you can start getting activity in certain communities.
Let me ask you this, please.
Yeah.
So my business page right now is connected to my personal Facebook account.
Yeah.
Did you set up a separate Facebook account for your business itself through which you have your business page, or?
It's under my personal, and I have a business page under my personal account. Yep. Yep.
Okay, because so here's my thing, y'all. This is maybe one of my how you call it?
You know what you have to figure out? A strategy. Like, what is your strategy? Right? Like, I have 4 steps to the strategy. That's what I think about. And then I would say, and I think I talked about this before when I did that the networking. Who's your ideal customer? Right?
Yeah.
Because and I share that with you because let's say for instance your ideal customer is seniors, right? That live in an apartment. See, right? Just an example.
I have my client. I've done my client profile.
Okay, so you've done the client profile.
Yeah, I have very good research on my clients, my client, and where they live, the type of work, the age group, the income, and all that stuff. It's using that data now to translate it into the different ads. So I'm doing print ads. Now I want to do social media ad. And so I'm just trying to find the right way to do it. I did run an ad briefly on Facebook, but it was really brief. It was just a weekend. It had 3,000 impressions. It has 30 click-throughs. But I didn't get anybody to sign up for the one-on-one session.
That's right. And what I'm thinking right now, because so many people are at home, your mails are probably going to do better than your digital.
Yeah, it's very possible. But I was asking about the personal account versus the Facebook, versus your, I guess so then you're using your personal. I'm the type of person, like I want to try to separate my personal from my business, but with the type of business I do, it's just so hard. Like real estate is my face. And I think at some point I have to come to terms with it, that this is just, it is my face. So I'm trying desperately to keep my personal, but it's not working because my face has to be out there. My name has to be out there. Even if the business has its own name, my name has to be out there. So I guess at some point I just have to come to terms with it. That's why I was asking the question if the account was the business, account versus your personal account, because I was thinking, should I create a business account from which the business page would be run?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Well, it depends. I go back and forth. I post sometimes personally, I post sometimes business. It depends on, stuff. Because people are going to Google you anyway, and they're going to find your personal and your business stuff, right?
Yeah. I think it's helpful